I'm Georgia Lennon. I'm one of the family law solicitors here at Southern Waters Legal. One of the things that I'm commonly asked is, what does that mean, or what does that mean, in relation to certain terms that are used regularly with clients. And understandably, it is confusing because, we as lawyers have studied for many, many years and practice often exclusively in certain areas of law. So we use this lingo and terminology like it's second nature, but understandably, you don't know those words. So what I've done to assist is put together a little bit of a dictionary, an A to Z of family law, and I'm going to take you through a different letter each week and how that relates to some really commonly used family law terms. So this week, no surprise, we're starting with the letter A. So A is a really important letter in family law matters. A stands for applications. So this is probably one of the most important things in a family law matter because it's one of the things you do to start your case. So there are various forms of applications. One is your application for divorce, which is probably the most spoken about one. A second one, perhaps more importantly actually, is this one. It's called an initiating application. So that is kind of like what it says. It originates and starts your matter. So you file that kind of application when you say to the court, hey, I'm unable to resolve this by myself and I need the court's intervention. So an initiating application is filed at the very start of your matter, and in that you can seek interim orders or final orders, or both. And most commonly both are sought. So interim orders, and I'll talk about this more in O, but interim orders are where an order is sought until a further order can be made. So it's about interim short-term issues that need to be made. Final orders are what you want to occur on a final basis. So in your application, as an example, you might be seeking interim orders in relation to the care arrangements for the children and final orders in relation to what you say should occur at the very end of your matter when it all resolves. So in relation to property, an interim issue might be, hey, we need to sell the house because neither of us can afford to pay it, but we don't agree about how that's to be done. But on a final basis, you might be talking about how the overall division of all your assets might be resolved. So that's the difference between interim and final, and there are two kinds of orders that you would seek within your initiating application. Another kind of application that can be made throughout the duration of the matter is an application in a case. So that is filed during the course of proceedings. So you're going along the court timeline, unfortunately you haven't resolved it yet, and then an issue comes up that can't wait until the final determination over here. So you have to file what's called an application in a case to seek that your matter be listed for normally an interim hearing to have that matter resolved. So that's A. That's A for applications. A, our next word, is affidavits. Again, a really, really important term in family law matters. Affidavits are basically your story, but more importantly, it sets out the evidence in support of the orders you seek in your application. So what that means is if you're seeking orders in relation to the care of the children and you say, my ex-partner was really abusive towards me, he hit the children, he drinks alcohol, he takes drugs, all of those kind of things. Presumably in your orders, you're also seeking certain orders in relation to the care of the children such that they live with you. Your ex you might seek orders in relation to him undertaking drug and alcohol testing. You might seek orders in relation to parental responsibility. So your affidavit evidence has to support what you're asking for. So similarly, in relation to property, you do the same thing, saying, this is why I want X% at the end of the matter, and it's because of these contributions throughout the relationship, and you detail that, and my future needs relating to my earning capacity, health, and so forth. So your affidavit is absolutely essential to have right in your matter. The next A word is alternative dispute resolution. So this is becoming increasingly important in family law matters. It's always been available. It's available in any kind of court process actually. But basically what it refers to is getting out of the court process. Why that's so important right now is because the courts have significant delays. Not to mention it is an incredibly stressful process and you're leaving the decision of your family and relationship outcome up to a third party. And you don't get to have a say in that. That's the court process. Alternative dispute resolution takes you out of that and says, hey, how can we resolve it out of the court process? So what that might include is arbitration, mediation. So basically what alternative dispute resolution is an alternate to the litigated process. And it's incredibly important right now because of the court delays and that you might not have your matter resolved for many years. So if you can take that into your own hands and endeavour to reach a resolution with the assistance of a mediator or some other third party that takes it out of the court system, then that is always recommended by lawyers if it is appropriate for your case. And the final A word that I'll talk about today really briefly is appeals. So you are able to appeal the decision in a matter if you do have a determination actually made by a judge. If there is an error of fact or law, and there are some other limited grounds in which you may appeal, you have to file a notice of appeal within 28 days of that decision having been made. So it's really important that if you consider that there has been an issue that needs to be considered on appeal, that you seek legal advice, because it is also quite a niche and also rarely used part of the law. So it's really important that you do get legal advice in relation to that. So thanks for listening to our A words. If you have any questions, send them through. Otherwise, we'll be starting off with B next week and then continuing on from there. Thanks for listening.